Oh, sweet. We're live now. Cool. Hey, everyone. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Hopefully, it was iPass fault. I wanted to let everyone know. He moved the PowerPoint presentation, and that's a big no-no. So we're not going to do it again, and we're going to start over. So, hey, guys, I'm PM Asher.
And I'm Blacksmith.
And we are from Trendy Entertainment, and we have a really awesome, exciting schedule for you guys today. So, Haddad is our guest for the whole day. The main theme of the day we're going to be going over is the new Spec Nodes system, which doesn't have a name yet, and I'm very upset about it.
It will. Don't you worry.
But before we do that, I want to do some housekeeping stuff. So the Onslaught initiative vote finished. Which one won?
I believe Mercenary won, didn't it?
Mercenary won. Yeah, that was the one I wanted.
Yeah,
awesome.
Go Team Mercenary.
That was a really close vote. Thank you guys for kind of coming together as a community and opposing each other and voting. So I think that was awesome, and I think it's going to be a struggle for us internally to come up with votes that you guys are as passionate about. So we're going to be working on that. We also started a new influence vote, right?
New influence vote.
Yeah. So do you want to just talk about that really quickly?
Sure. Basically, it's themed to help guide us on basically how we do items and how you guys all interact with items. There's basically two camps.
There's two philosophies.
Yeah, two philosophies. Basically, the one is all about going into the world, finding specific pieces of loot and enhancing that specific piece. Okay. And the other one may be finding a less than ideal piece of loot and then going and finding other materials that you kind of infuse into that piece of loot to make it better. So they're kind of two different camps on how you guys interact with loot.
Cool. So basically people are going to go on and they're going to vote whether they want to. I believe we have one that's called
the Enhancer,
yeah. And then one that's called Crafter. Yeah. So they're going to pick which kind of philosophy they want to see us implement in the future.
Yeah. As a note, we're not kind of bringing up the idea of a full crafting system, but the idea of how you want to go into the world and what sort of items you want to get. Right.
So it's not like the idea where you're going to find a recipe and make something, but it's kind of like either you already have a sword and you maybe can change how it is by putting other items or materials into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the gist of it.
Cool. Okay. Thank you guys. I'm going to talk to Josh right now. You should tweet and let people know we're back on the stream if you haven't already. I hope we get everyone back to watch this, and I apologize for the delay. So now the thing that you guys have all been waiting for, Spec Node system review.
Spec Nodes V2.
We're going to go through the first part of it a little
quicker.
Quickly.
Yeah. So basically, when we sat down, we looked at our Spec Node system. We really liked it. You guys were using it a lot. But we basically wanted to make a new version of it because there were some things that were wrong with it. The key goals were basically to build upon the existing system, make the choices more meaningful, use it to kind of diversify the builds that you all use, and use it as a good retention tool, right? You guys really want basically to be able to go into the game and have reasons to play the end game.
Yeah, for forever, right?
For forever, hopefully for forever, yeah. And basically allow you guys to diversify your build, where one Squire is completely different from another Squire, is completely different from another Squire. All right, if we hop on to the next slide, I pass butter.
And yes, guys, we did start over, but we're going through it quickly.
Super quickly, yeah. Some of the problems that we encountered with the Spec Node system were early on, the choices were meaningless. You get 1 point, you put in one spec, it didn't really give you much of a thing. Spec Nodes were largely an end game thing. And basically the diversity was not there. You just picked the few specs that were useful and you put your points into them and you
so you basically just no choice. So it was okay, I'm going to be this and this, or this and this.
Yeah, and to move that a little bit higher level, once we pass the slides, pass butter. Basically, we distilled this down to two things: what is fun about specs and what is not fun. The thing that's fun is basically picking which spec you want to use and basically diversifying the build that you use. Things that are not fun is putting points into it. It's not really interesting, and the early game is not at all ideal.
So basically what you're saying is that we're going to add more points and just kidding. We're going to do the fun category.
Yes, okay. You shall see.
So that's what this next slide's about, right?
If you move on to the next slide, basically the solution path we're following is two key loops. The first loop, which you can kind of see on the screen, is the unlock flow, where you play the game. You're going to actually unlock slots where you'll be able to put runes into, or specs, or skill spheres, whatever we call them. And
skill spheres. Josh, I said it without slurring. That's the name. All right.
And you'll be able to basically customize your build that way. So you go into the game, you level up, you unlock slots, you put runes into them. The other loop is basically as you're playing, you're gaining gold, you're gaining whatever it is that you use to basically unlock different specs to put in these different runes.
Okay, cool. So it's basically there's like two sides of the puzzle. One is a progression piece where as I play the game, I'm going to unlock more slots and I think different kinds or something like that of slots, and then that's going to change just the total size of the sheet I have.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that I actually have to find the whatever we call them, the skill spheres, the ruins that you put into each slot.
Yes, that is exactly it.
Cool.
So if we move on to the next slide, there are 3 key changes that I want to talk about here for the Spec Nodes v2. First of all, we completely got rid of points. As we just talked about, they weren't very fun. The second change, we added this idea where your spec sheet, in the first version, it was just there.
Yeah,
you didn't really interact with it much. Now you actually have to unlock different slots, and there are different types of slots. And the last change, and probably the most interesting change, there's now small specs, medium specs, large specs, and uber specs. And I'll dive into detail in just a bit.
Pictures, shiny pictures. Here you guys go. Here's a mock-up of the screen. So it's not, is it implemented yet?
This is in the process of being
sweet.
implemented. This is a mock that I did just in 2D tool. This is not actually in-game, but it kind of will help you visualize what it might look like. So you'll see immediately there's different types of slots, right?
Yeah,
you see there's 4 types.
Okay, 4 types.
4 types and a total of 7 slots.
Okay.
So you have 3 small slots that can only fit small specs, and I'll talk about what those are in a bit. 2 mediums, 1 large, and 1 uber. And the uber is the real big thing, which is I'm pretty excited to talk to you guys about in just a bit. So let's
let everyone relish that. Oh, it's okay. All right, we'll talk about it. Next time, let's let them like look at the screen. Oh, there we go. Look at. Okay, we can go on. Sorry.
All right, let's move on. All right. So before we only had like 1 category of specs. There were 6 specs. There weren't that much diversity in them, right? So now we have like 4 tiers of specs. There's small, medium, large, and uber, and each one of them kind of follows a specific theme. Okay. Small specs are all about raw stat increases. You guys have been asking for that a lot. This is something you missed from DD1. And basically, when you get a small spec, you can get a spec that says like plus 10 defense power, plus 50 defense power, Sweet. Plus 100 hero health or whatever. And smalls are only dedicated to that. That's all they'll do. They'll only increase your stats.
So we'll stop for a second. So guys, you can choose your stats now on your character.
You can choose your stats.
Use this sheet to choose stats for your character.
Yes.
Guys, if you have any questions while we're going through this too, please just ask us in the comments here, and we'll pause, we'll answer questions, and we'll keep going. So stats. Awesome.
Stats. Okay, next. Smalls are all about the stats. The medium slots are more generic improvements. They kind of will improve different aspects of the game. When we have pets in there, you can find a medium spec that says, hey, plus 20% pet damage, cooldown reduction, things like that. Things more general, nothing very hyper-specific. It's still going to basically apply to all the heroes. Something cool for mediums that you guys have been asking for a lot is also defense range. Defense range fits squarely inside mediums. You get a rune that says, all right, this tower's range is increased by this much, and a whole lot of...
So what you're saying is not only do you have stats for your character now, but the defense range stat is back in a way.
It is back in the spec.
And you can put it in your medium slot. And there's 2 medium slots?
There's 2 medium slots right now.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And the larges are basically the specs that you guys are familiar with. The rule that we follow is it's a very hyper-specific spec. It takes a certain aspect of the hero's kit and adds something small to it. To take a good example is like if there's a cannonball tower, we will add a spec that says 25% chance for the cannonball to stun, and that's basically a spec. It didn't stun before, and now adds a little thing to stun.
So that's kind of the specs that we already had in the game right now, like... the double fireball and those
fireball. The majority of the specs that we had are going to be larges. Some of them were demoted into mediums, but most of them were actually larges.
Okay, cool. So I want to pause for a second. We did have a question. This was a question from... Let me see. We've changed our setup so I can read and everything now. I'm excited.
Perfect.
From Veda1, and they want to know, will you be able to buy specs with real money, or are they drops in in-game money only?
Only in-game money. We'll never actually sell power. We're still committing to that. It's all going to be just stuff that you earn through gameplay or through standard currency.
Yeah, so this patch will actually be introducing some of the first cosmetic type stuff and other things that don't affect gameplay. That are kind of what we will sell in the future, but this is very clearly not one of them, so you don't have to worry about it all. Basically, this is an awesome leveling system that you guys are finally going to get, and we're really happy about it.
Yep.
So, okay, large specs, awesome.
Large specs done. Now the meat of it, right? The uber specs. You can only have 1 uber spec, and there's a reason for it. The reason is this spec is basically going to take an aspect of the hero's kit and completely change the way it functions and completely allow you to specialize. So if you think of it as a pyramid, you're going to basically pick your uber and then kind of mix and match your larges, mediums, and smalls based on that.
So the uber is like the backbone of the build. You're going to
It can be the backbone of the build. That's how I prefer to think of it. But I'm sure you guys will, diversify things and do whatever you want with it. I'm going to give a few examples on what the Uber might be, just to give you guys a tease. A little after the presentation, we'll switch documents, and you'll see all the ones that we're currently thinking of.
Okay.
But to give you guys an example, the Fireball Tower, you can get a rune. What's going on?
No, I'm excited, man. I love this one.
All right, so the Fireball Tower, you can get a rune. That'll change it to be a Flamethrower Tower. It doesn't visually change. It'll just fire a different projectile and have a different animation. It will reduce its range, and it's all about picking a target, throwing fire at it in a small area until it passes, and then you move on.
So basically, we're changing it from a Fireball Tower to a
Flame Burst Tower, yep. Flamethrower Tower, yeah. And we'll talk about the other 4 heroes and how abilities can fit into that in just a bit.
So someone has a great idea in the comments here, which is that, if you guys have ideas for specs, now that you know what they are, we'd love to see them
just
on the forums.
Go on the forums and start posting.
Yep, start posting right now. By the end of the stream, we can do. If you guys have some ideas, let us know in the comments here. So we have a question here, which is, this is from Green Blood Angel. And they want to know, so Uber can be you can't auto-attack, but you get 20% stronger towers?
Maybe. It's basically, that is the theme of it, right? It's something that's going to completely change the way you interact with your hero, right? We kind of want to avoid things that are just a little not as interesting, which are just flat damage increases. We want to kind of diversify and make it a little more interesting.
We can keep going because they can hear us even though they can't see us. So perfect. Okay, cool. Well, let's keep going on. All right.
Cool.
We can't.
Next slide. It's all right. I'll kind of talk you guys through it.
We can just click on the next slide.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, sorry guys about that. Apparently, we're just too beautiful to be seen on camera.
All right, cool. You guys are now actually looking at the progression that we're thinking of. You're seeing some gold values. These are obviously very temporary. The gold values are going to fluctuate, but you'll basically see a good idea of how you'll be able to gain the slots. So at level 5, you'll gain your first slot. It'll be a small slot, then 7, 12, whatever. And finally, at the end, at level 25, you'll gain your Ubers. And this is kind of the progression flow that we're thinking. Small, medium, large, and then Uber. If you guys have any questions or concerns on that.
So basically, all right, so it's you get, what level are you at the end with the first level when you beat it?
The first level when you beat it, I believe you will be either 3 or 5 right now.
3 or 5? Okay. Oh man, did we go black again? Oh, we went black. What should we do? Why do we go black again? Do you know?
The camera shuts off. I don't know because it's not.
I know.
No, not something. Here, this stuff I didn't move it, so it wasn't me.
Well, let's just get the stream back up, even if it doesn't have the camera.
Okay, I can't tell. Tell me if you see that. It's not me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I didn't move it. No. What I was gonna say, we'll just do instead is just have John play.
Oh, we're back. Okay,
We're back.
cool. All right, guys. I apologize for that brief delay. We're not going to start over again, and we may not have the image of us. So, cool. Okay, we're just going to go over this stuff. I'm sorry you guys can't see our faces, but you can hear us. Oh, they see the Word document now though, and
They
not
see the doc.
I switched it. I switched.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
All right, perfect. Okay, cool. So back to what I was saying. So basically, the end of the first level, you're level what?
You should be between 3 and 5.
Okay, so basically, first or second level is when you unlock your first slot, and then from there you can start to acquire, which I think is what we're going to talk about next, probably.
Yeah, you'll basically be getting more and more. After that, if we're done talking about the level ranges and stuff.
Okay, so for the next slide.
Next slide, please. So there are a few things about the requirements for specs. Obviously, since we're changing so much, there's going to be a whole lot of specs. Before you had 6, now there's probably going to be a whole lot more. I'm not going to say a quantity, but there's going to be a lot. There's obviously going to be level requirements for specs. There's going to be slot requirements, like you can't fit a small in a medium or a medium in a small, and things like that. They're going to be unique versus not unique. Basically, that means you can equip multiples of certain ones, and you can only equip one of another. And obviously a hero requirement, where some specs you can only equip on the hunters, and others you can only equip on the squire.
Okay,
All right, cool. Let's switch.
So someone wants to know, Batophobia wants to know,
Next slide.
Yeah, are specs only, do they require gold to unlock, or?
Right now the plan is they require gold to unlock. We're also investigating having them earn through gameplay and things like that. And there's something else extra on that we'll probably talk about in the future.
So we have here that someone suggests that we should rename, this is actually PSO Master 437, we should rename Uber's Heroics.
Heroics.
That could be cool.
That's a good name, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So the smalls, mediums, and some of the largest, you'd be able to just go up to a vendor, a new vendor in the hub. We're going to use the key lady that you guys might have seen already in the hub. And you'll just interact with her and you'll be able to buy different specs or heroics from her as you see fit for gold. As for the rest of the largest and the rest of the Ubers, we'll probably talk about how you're able to earn those in the future. All right.
Perfect.
Next slide. This is just a cleanup thing. Obviously, Spec Nodes was always meant to be a development name that we call internally. This is not what we're going to actually call the system. We're considering calling it something Rune System originally. Now we're thinking Skill Spheres. But Skill Spheres is likely what we're going to call it. Maybe Heroics. We'll go run that by Danny.
So guys, if you have any ideas for names for either the slots or for the system itself, we would love for you to start a suggestion on the forum.
Yeah.
And let us know there. So we don't have any names for the system.
We don't have any names, so feel free to suggest what you guys think.
Cool. So now we're going to switch to the second document, and we're going to actually talk about, oh man, someone says we call the last one meow. We're going to switch to the second document, and we're going to start to talk about some of the Ubers themselves. Actually.
Some of the Ubers themselves. So this document that you guys are looking at kind of outlines some of the Uber ideas that we had. I will preface by saying that these are still just on paper. We haven't played with them yet, so a lot of this might change, but I want to get this stuff out to you guys.
So guys, this is just a design disclaimer. None of this stuff may ever make it into the game. The Ubers may be completely different when they're in the game. It may be something you guys suggested on the forum. It may be that we tried it and we didn't like it and we put something else in. But in the spirit of being open and kind of showing you guys where we are in development, we want to just show you guys what we're thinking of now and get your feedback. So please comment. We say that you guys can help us develop stuff, but honestly, these live streams, this is when Haddad's gonna go back to his desk and implement these things. So if you guys are giving ideas now, that's some of the best time to help us.
The key takeaway you guys should take from this is basically the fantasy of it. What do these Ubers do? All right. So I'm gonna work through the Monk and work my way down.
Yep.
The Monk has 2 Ubers that we're thinking of eventually. For the launch, we're probably gonna have one and basically wrap up.
So we're only gonna have half of these for the launch. We don't know which ones we're gonna have yet.
Yeah, so there's one themed around his ability. If you guys have played with the Monk, he has the heal ability where he does a little AoE heal around him. And basically, if you equip this Uber spec, if you cast this near a tower or a blockade, basically as not traps or auras, it'll place a shield on those defenses for a few seconds, and it'll be able to protect them, from a bunch of hits.
So basically, this is with heroic wave. So it's going to be AOE around you. You
AOE around you.
Jump into an area, go boom, tower shield.
If you see an area or a choke point is going to go down, you jump in, you
shield them,
pop your thing, and then you shield.
And they're immune to damage for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
with this.
The shield absorbs damage. Yep. His defense themed one looks at Lightning Aura. Lightning Aura has been this thing where a bunch of enemies are in it, a bunch of enemies take damage. It kind of flips that on its head, where it now picks a single target and does a whole lot of damage to that one target, and then picks another, does a whole lot of damage to that one target, and then picks another and does a whole lot of damage. As an example of how Ubers might work well with larges, we can later on introduce large spec that's kind of a chain lightning spec, so it'll hit one guy, then it'll bounce to another guy, and bounce to another guy.
So you'll need to find the Uber and then the large.
And then the large for these two.
Sweet.
Makes sense. All right. The Apprentice, his ability one kind of looks at the tornado and what it does and kind of does something different with it. You fire the tornado, it actually hits only one target this time rather than hitting multiple enemies. It raises that target in the air, he's getting electrocuted, he's getting zapped, and what it does, it kind of turns him into a lightning aura, and then enemies around him start getting hit by lightning as well, so it kind of lifts them in the air, keeps them CC'd for a good chunk of time, and they get zapped in an area.
So basically the Apprentice has a mobile lightning aura
mobile,
that he can kind of place where he wants.
Mobile tower construction, yeah. Okay, cool. The next one, obviously we talked about this already, the Flame Burst Tower. When you equip the spec for it, turns it into a Flamethrower Tower. It reduces its range and makes it all about dealing a whole lot of damage in a short area and rotating and kind of peppering the area with a lot of fire.
Alright, sweet.
Okay. The Huntress, her ability one takes her concussive shots, which fires 4 grenades on the ground and they detonate and stun enemies. When they impact the ground, they no longer detonate. They actually stick to the surface.
Okay.
And she basically can go across the map and basically fire these in a build phase or whatever and stick them on surfaces. And they basically function as one charge traps. So she goes in, again, she uses her ability to kind of construct temporary traps, and she takes it from there.
Cool.
All right. From there, what's the next one? iPass Butter?
Explosive merge.
Right, the explosive merge. It basically looks at the explosive trap, which used to be an enemy walks over it, detonates it, does damage in an area around it. Now it kind of makes it a merv. It doesn't really pick a target or detonate. It detonates by itself. And when it detonates, it fires off a little like explosive projectile. It'll stick to a surface. And each explosive trap can have a max number of these active at a time, like 3 or 5. And then when the enemy walks near the thing that it spat out, the thing will actually detonate in a small area and damage things. So you can see your explosive traps basically covering a much wider area in a more sporadic manner.
So I want to pause for a second before we go over the last one, which is the Squire. So these are just the first round of Ubers that we have in mind to do. There's obviously a lot more that we're going to want to do in the future. So we're really excited to work with you on your ideas. So not only kinds, but if you guys have types of things you can see, I know a bunch of you in the comments are saying that you want to see some DPS related Ubers as well. That's definitely something that we'll be looking at in the future. I think we are kind of focused on doing some of the tower stuff first because it is a tower defense game.
Yeah, we all kind of always focus more on towers first and then yours second.
We've learned.
Yes. All right, so the last guy, obviously, our Squire.
Yep.
He's kind of DPS themed, actually.
He is actually, so it's a good segue into him.
So his sword beam, basically his ability, Uber, allows him to fire a sword beam. It'll hit a bunch of enemies. It'll travel a lot further. And based on the number of enemies, when it reaches its max range, it's going to turn back, come back as well, hit a bunch of enemies. And when it reaches him, based on the total number of enemies it hits, it's going to do a massive AoE of damage around him.
Sweet,
so it kind of goes like a boomerang, then comes back and does a lot of damage around him.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
And as for his defense one, it takes basically a cannonball tower, and it really kind of increases the size of the projectile that it fires. So instead of firing a projectile that's kind of small and flying,
punchy.
It's going to fire a really, really fat projectile that instantly falls to the ground and starts slowly rolling and rolling and rolling.
Okay.
And as it rolls, it gains momentum. And once it basically impacts a surface or an enemy, it detonates, dealing damage in an area. The further it travels, the more damage that it will do.
So we have people saying the old cannonball tower is back. Not exactly.
Not exactly.
So
it doesn't bounce.
Nope. It doesn't bounce. And if it hits an enemy, it will explode. So it's
will
not going to
explode.
go through the enemies.
Yeah.
But it will roll until it hits an enemy.
It's all about taking basically a more short-range tower and making it more a long-range tower, and seeing how you guys play with that.
Cool. So guys, those are ideas for Ubers. I hope you guys enjoy them. We'd love to. We have some questions from the forums that I think we're going to go over, and obviously we want to take questions from the comments. So, is there any summary that we want to say about the new Spec Node system?
A lot of your feedback we've been listening in on, and we've addressed a lot of it. You can now equip specs that instantly will affect your stats. So that's in. We have stuff that affects tower ranges. That's in also. Our large specs are kind of what you guys know and expect, and Ubers will substantially change the way you play your hero. Ubers are still kind of something we're exploring. If you guys have suggestions, please go on the forums, start writing up forum posts, and we'll take that feedback and try to make cool Ubers out of it.
Yeah. So we're really excited, and I think that this is going to be the first step. A lot of you have said that, hey, we like the core gameplay of DD2. There's some balance changes we need to do, and we know that. But we really want a reason to come back and play this game over and over and over and have rewards that are meaningful. And this is really the first step in that. So I'm sure it's going to take a couple iterations after this first one to get the system to where it is, and it's going to take a lot of content generation. We have to make Ubers that are really cool that we're going to have to put in the game. But I think that I think that this is going to make Dungeon Defenders 2 a way better game.
Oh, and before we move on, something that we're exploring with Ubers that I'd love to see some forum reports about, because we'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Before with specs, you kind of equip them, and then when you change them, it kind of changes all the defenses you have. Because Ubers are so specialized, we're considering allowing you to equip an Uber, go in, build a few of that tower, then de-equip that Uber and equip another, and those towers that you already built will stay. Like you can go build 5 fireball towers, then equip the flame burst one, the flamethrower one, and build 2 flamethrower ones. So you'll mix up your defenses. Let us know what you think about that. It's going to be helpful.
So basically you can have 2 monks.
Basically you'll be able to have multiple monks, yes.
Okay. Cool. So we're we're really excited about the system, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. A couple questions, one from Sislik. They want to know, will Ubers be designed as damage increases so that you're expected to always use one?
What we hope to do with Ubers is basically identify different playstyles from damage dealing to CC to support to healing, and basically do Ubers around that, basically fostering the different aspects of the hero's kit. So not necessarily purely damage related.
Yeah, so it's not that you will need one, but everyone will probably want at least one. It's kind of like the hyper customization.
Yeah.
And then, maybe not at the beginning when we only have a couple, but definitely in the future when we have a bunch of people who want a lot of them. See if there's no other questions right now. So perfect. Okay, well, thanks guys. We're going to go into some of these questions, and we're really excited. So start telling us what you think about the new spec system on the forums. So the first question is from XRDX, who wants to know, are there pets that will fire from a longer range as well as up close?
The way pets fire is an interesting thing that we're kind of working through right now. Range might not be a thing for them. It might vary on pet to pet, but there are things that will vary are things like the projectile types that it fires. Is it a spread shot? Is it going to fire multiple projectiles? Is it one big slow projectile? Attack speed, things like that will certainly vary. Range, we're still kind of looking at and investigating.
So we have a question here from Gigazel, who wants to know, why not make new heroes instead of Ubers? It seems like the new playstyles could easily warrant new heroes.
We wanted to add that extra layer of progression within each hero. This is kind of the final layer. We've been talking for quite a while. If you kind of look back at our blogs and the streams, we've been always kind of hinting at one final layer of progression. This is the final layer that we want to introduce to existing heroes. With that once we kind of polish up our existing heroes and we're happy with them, that's when we're going to start adding new heroes.
And I think it's kind of a philosophy choice that we've made that we said over and over again, which is we switched from when we were working on a MOBA to saying we're going to have a lot of heroes that have very low customizability and low progression to we're going to have a few heroes that have a lot of customizability and a lot of progression. So the idea here is that we want someone to pick a hero and they might want to generate multiple of them and level them up a certain way, but they're really excited about doing all the stuff that they need to do to RPG progress through that hero, and that's kind of what the system provides.
Yep.
We have a question from Amphifo Gutu, who wants to know, will there be pet specs?
There will not. Oh, there will be pet themed specs, but your pet will not equip specs.
Okay, so there may be specs. Jeez, my brain doesn't work. There may be specs that relate to pets.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Someone wants to know, for the Huntress Uber, will the new concussive shot, this is pet tier 50, will it still cost hero mana, or will it cost tower mana?
It'll still cost ability mana currently.
Okay, perfect. Another question from Ace Wolf, which is, will Ubers only affect towers, or will we get ability and DPS Ubers as well?
Ubers are meant to affect all aspects of your hero kit. The ones we revealed today were mostly defense themed, because that's kind of where we always start thinking since we are a tower defense game. But in the future, you may see things that only affect like hero damage, even how heroes move or things like that. So. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. All right, so this is question 2 from... Oh, guys, and I just want to let you know that we will be revealing another new system that's in the patch next week. I won't say what it is, but I think that it might be even more exciting than the reveal we did today for you guys. So make sure to come back next Friday at 5 p.m. to catch that reveal as well. Questions. Galaxy HD. Any idea when pets are coming out or character specs to upgrade them?
In the next update, right?
In the next update, but we're not saying when the next update is. So, not yet, at least. Sarah Nako wants to know, when will you add Steam badges?
Steam badges.
That's something that my team has to turn on, and we're waiting till later in early access to turn it on because we feel like it's not necessarily fair to all of you guys who are kind of testing out the game and stuff now to have the trading cards and badges and stuff on it. All right, so Gimdolf the Epic wants to know, when is the Mac version coming out? And if there's no set date yet, is a high or low priority at the moment? So I'll answer that. So it's actually a low priority at the moment. We're really focused on getting the Windows version and the PS4 version as good as possible. We know we've had issues as a company releasing multiple SKUs at a time. We will hit Mac and Linux. We just don't know when and how far in the future that will be. So the next one is from Kagetani Hiduko, who wants to know, for the current vote, if Enhancer wins, will there be a limit on how much we can enhance an item?
We haven't completely thought about basically what each philosophy, the details of it are.
Yeah.
But basically, once we understand which philosophy you guys want us to proceed with, we can start like diving into the details.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So, and I want to make that very clear, guys, with this vote. I know there's some confusion. We're trying to do these votes that are really weighty and meaningful and actually let's talk about this vote for a second, that will influence how we build the game. And that's difficult because not only is it difficult to communicate these things internally, but it's difficult to communicate these things to you guys as well. So with us, it's kind of like this is a really important decision, which is basically, do you want to do the DD1 style thing of taking items and then kind of linearly enhance them and have us really focus on making a variety of different systems that let you do that? Or do you want to instead take an item and then change it to be something different instead of enhancing it?
It's kind of vertical progression versus vertical mixed with a bit of horizontal progression.
Exactly. And so the thing is, if we focus on one, we may not necessarily be able to do all the stuff the other. So a lot of people say, well, why don't you do both? Why don't you let us change it to whatever we want and then make it better? And the answer is that there's just not time for us to do that right now. So this one is really going to determine our focus of where we go next with the system. Are we making the system so we vertically enhance things, or are we focusing on letting you have lateral progression? All right. The next question is from also Kagete Hiduko. I'm going to ask Josh to not put questions on about when the patch is coming out, because as much as I love saying your guys' names, we're going to announce the patch when it's ready, so when it's done. The next question is from Silic, who wants to know, do you think it'll be possible to properly balance Flame Blast and Cannonball Towers with their current attack width covering 2 or more lanes at a time?
Yes, that is something that we often talk about. Obviously, the Flameburst Tower had a lot of issues. If you guys remember, the range was substantially larger than it currently is. We tweaked that down, and we kind of are still working on it. So, yeah, we're going to actively keep working on it until we get it right. But I do believe we'll eventually crack it.
Cool. All right, so Steel Soldier from the comments wants to know, will there be some sort of synergy of Uber slots that you have on your heroes and the heroes of other players? For example, a system that could increase the bonuses of both nodes that players have due to combinations.
We thought about that. We thought about that with potentially some other interesting systems that we might reveal down the line. It's still stuff we're thinking about. Currently, there are no concrete plans for that yet. It's still being explored.
Perfect. Okay, so the next question is from Dagnomi, who wants to know, will we see training dummies in the tavern that can actually trigger air towers and movement-based abilities?
Yes, that is something that we've been kind of... I mean, there was a time where they wouldn't trigger auras, right?
Yeah.
We had that up for a while. We're really focusing in on our dummies. Obviously, they're a bit low priority. Whenever we get around to it, we'll actually do it. But yeah, we want them to basically be able to trigger air defenses and mines and things like that.
So we have a question from Little Doggy, who wants to know, will the Trap Huntress be viable for solo play up through endgame?
Yes, up to a certain point. It gets a lot trickier when you're playing like the super endgame stuff for any hero, not just for the hunter specifically, just because of how resistances factor in and basically the different pressures that are happening on the map. So yes, with a small little caveat.
So Shark Player 123 from the comments wants to know, Ziathan wants to know, will the Huntress Poison Dart Tower be fixed in the next patch or possibly a hotfix?
Possibly a hotfix, maybe. Next patch, we sure hope it would be fixed by the next patch.
Perfect. Okay. So the next question is from Dagnomi. This looks like I haven't read the question yet, but it looks like a good one. All right. What precautions are you taking in developing the premium currency system to avoid a new player who is fresh to the game from feeling overwhelmed by price tags? People can very quickly assume that XP boosts or any enhancers with hefty prices make the game unplayable or unfair to non-paying players.
Right. You want me to take that one, or?
You can take it away.
Sure. Basically, when it comes to premium currency and anything that we're monetizing, we're being super careful. Obviously, this stuff is going to start to surface to you guys, especially the cosmetic stuff very soon. And we're going to really, really watch how you guys react to certain things. We're focusing a lot on this idea of ethical monetization, where we're not ever selling power. We're not ever kind of making you guys feel like you have to pay for things. It's all like goodwill. You guys are here to support us, and we're here to support you guys with all the things that we're doing. So yeah, that's our hope. We're even thinking about that through the way you kind of interact with these monetization features, which you'll soon see. It's we kind of debated: are there going to be like pop-ups that tell you when sales are going on? Is it going to be more rooted in the world? What are the sort of things that we're going to do? And that's all going to be revealed to you guys soon. And based on your feedback, we'll be adjusting.
Yep. And one thing that I really want to ask you guys is, we are in early access, so just like everything else, this is going to be a two-way street. So if you look at like the spec system, we got a lot of your guys' feedback from spec systems that you guys wanted stats back, that there were a lot of really important things that the first system didn't accomplish. So we went through and we basically completely changed the system to hopefully be something that you guys are going to enjoy more. And I would suspect that the same stuff is going to happen with our monetization. So whether it's a feature that you guys don't like that we need to change, or a feature that you guys really like that you want to let us know, we are excited for you guys to do that to us, respectfully, and then we can take that feedback and do it. We know that monetization is always a tricky subject because, it's a new field and it's something that's shouldn't be hard to get right, but it is. So we want to be careful. Like, we're going to respect you guys and your wallets and kind of how you spend in the game and try to make it as fair as possible. And in order to do that, we're going to need your help. So thanks, guys. That was a great question. All right. The next question from Evil Chimp 1982. Who wants to know, will the ability to sell bags be rolled into hotfix?
Sell bags.
So it makes sense as it's more convenience than necessity.
If by sell bags you mean kind of sell a like a 16 slot bag to replace it by a 32 one, we're not going to let you sell it, but we're hoping to add the feature to allow you to upgrade a 16 slot bag into a 32 slot bag.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. The next question is also from Evil Chimp 1982, who wants to know, will the Huntress's Poison Dart Tower get some major love to make it useful and not a waste of resources?
Yes, we're going to look at the balance for that. Obviously, we're working on a whole lot this push. We'll get to it when we get to it, especially with these balance things. We always kind of sneak things in hotfixes and whatnot, so just be patient.
So Maruth 1990 wants to know, are the girls sitting at the bar in the tavern upcoming classes?
As you just saw, one of them is a vendor. It's actually an upcoming vendor. They're not meant to be classes. They're kind of just characters that are in the world that we will use in interesting ways.
Perfect. So the next question is from Mordio, who wants to know, since a beta has been confirmed for the PS4 version, we did that last stream, how will people be chosen for the beta? Will current counselors be offered to participate, or will it be like early access and you can pay to be in it? We honestly don't know. Obviously, early access and beta and that kind of stuff on PlayStation products is new, so it's something we're going to be figuring out actively in the future. So thank you for the question. So the next question is from Sear, who wants to know, will we further integrate DD2 into Steam anytime soon so we can add players from in-game onto our Steam friend list?
Social features like that we're talking about a lot internally. Like we often say, it kind of fits in on a priority level. Right now it's not very high up because there are a lot of core gameplay stuff that we need to get in and get working really well. But yeah, we're talking about a whole lot of social features that we'd like to get in, including being able to add people in-game to your Steam friends list.
And we should write that one down. I don't think that one would be that hard to do.
Yeah, we can investigate it and see. Yeah.
So we have some questions here. Daniel B1235 from the forum wants to know why the collector's edition upgrade pack is so expensive. It includes $100 of premium currency. It includes 4 skins. It includes 4 embellishments. It includes 4 tower skins. So it's kind of like the best deal in the world for free-to-play games things. Those are going to be limited. We haven't decided the time, but probably around the end of early access or something, we're going to be taking both packages, off of sale. So that it is stuff that you can only get from that package. So we think it's a great deal. In this next patch, which we like to keep saying, you'll kind of see what the money and skins and stuff will get you. And we'll actually also update the Steam page so it's really more clear about what like the skins are and how they look, since we actually have them made. So that will be a reveal for another. It's not next week's reveal, but we'll talk about that stuff later.
Maybe we should have called it the Heroic Edition.
Well, I called it Dragonfall Defender, but maybe we should have called it the Heroic. You're right. That's actually really good. So XX Moshi Hero XXZ wants to know, is there any story behind DD2?
There is a story behind DD2, and we are going to gradually start revealing snippets of it soon.
Yep, perfect. Okay, cool. Steel Soldier from the comments wants to know, any chance if we will also be able to buy cosmetics that change the color or how our spells and abilities look in game?
We're talking a lot internally about, we call it ability skinning, being able to kind of skin your abilities. The fun example that I always give that freaks our team out but is quite whimsical is turning your piercing shot into a prancing rainbow unicorn instead of going down the field. We're kind of exploring those ideas. Those are super fun things that you'll be able to do, but also kind of we have to figure out where it fits on our priority.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we constantly will be struggling with internally is something that's cool, it's a paid feature, it makes us money, but also it takes time away from doing maybe features that are essential, like the spec system. We're adding a new Uber, so we just have to balance our time accordingly. We have a question from AceWolf456 who wants to know, since beta has been confirmed on PS4, do we have an ETA for controller support on Steam? No. Sorry. We're actually starting to get the schedule for PS4 kind of locked down, and we may have an internal ETA, but we're not going to probably let you guys know until it's done and ready to go soon.
We are working on it though, so
Yeah,
just
we are
be
working
patient.
on it. We have some documents that we reviewed recently that are really cool, so I think you guys will like it. Nico Semp wants to know, where is the item locking system on our priority list?
Item locking system is currently not on our list. The way you kind of interact with your inventory is very different than it was in BD1. We don't currently feel like there's much necessity for an item locking system. If you guys feel strongly about it, we can take that under consideration.
Sonic Puzzle from the comments wants to know, why can you not play the first 2 levels of the game in free play 20+?
The first 2 levels are kind of, their layout is very simplistic to the point where we don't feel currently confident that we'll be able to provide you with much of a challenge on those maps, so we kind of removed those from there until we kind of either get more enemies or figure out better things we can do on those maps. You may see them in incursions soon.
Yeah, perfect. So Lamp Patty Cakes wants to know, will people be able to trade with each other for items and gold like in DD1?
Item trading is a very hot debate going on internally. We're kind of still discussing it at length, whether or not we should do it and how we should do it when we actually decide to do it. So just take comfort in the fact that we are actively talking about it.
Yep. Darksider74 wants to know, will there be legendary treasure chests?
there already are legendary special sets, special chests, but they're so legendary that you actually haven't seen one yet. So we will probably need to look at that.
Daniel B1235 wants to know, will the game be free to play if it comes out? The game is coming out, and yes, it will be free to play. Thank you for the question. Let's see. So SharkPlayer123 wants to know, would an Uber skill that made all the Huntress hits be crits be too OP?
Probably.
Probably.
It's something that turns something into always being critical is not usually very powerful, a very good thing.
So Reister66 wants to know, will everyone be given premium currency to test out all the cosmetics, boosters, etc.? Yes, actually everyone already has. I think no matter what you bought the game at, you're getting $30 worth of premium currency. So you'll be able to use it to test, to buy things. Actually, we're probably going to add premium currency and items in before we even let you guys buy more premium currency. So in an ideal world, you guys will like the costumes and stuff and actually be asking us to work on that feature. Let's see. Cool. All right, we caught up with those questions. All right, so the next question is from DJet717, who wants to know, are we ever planning on adding a healing pet like the fairy or a mana pet like the genie?
We're talking a lot about what are some of the cool things that pets can do. You may not see some of those super cool things that we're thinking about in the next update, but in a future phase where we expand on pets, we're definitely going to talk a lot about like certain abilities that they can do, more passive ones, maybe some active ones, and we'll take it from there.
Perfect. Okay. So Kiona wants to know, will Earth Shadow receive a fix so that it combos with Skyguard?
We will take a look at that, and if it isn't, we'll figure out why. It should be able to, yes, that's a bug.
So Kiona and Makiwame want to know, any chance you could add min-max values of stats in the tooltip? That's one thing to farm for upgrades, it's another thing to farm blindly.
Yeah, it is something that we're aware of. In a future kind of update to the tooltips, you'll be able to see that, but currently it's going to be a little bit before you actually get to see that, so apologies for that. You may see it on pets sooner, though, just because we're working on pets now.
Perfect. So ACC Crate wants to know, on Ramparts there's a massive detailed silhouette of an airship in the far background that I stare at for days. What is that?
You may find out one day.
Yeah, you'll find out when there's more story in the game. Okay, cool. So the next question, and good eye to Crate. So Batphobia wants to know, what are the odds of getting an influence vote on your temporary storage change? Having it become auto-destroy instead of auto-sell sounds like a downgrade.
Yeah, we know that the temporary item, the temporary item box is kind of a hot topic right now. There's a lot of very important reasons why we're kind of seeking to introduce the changes that we're talking about. There may be an influence vote about it, but it won't be in the way you present it because there are some things that we feel are very, very necessary for the health of the game that we might just have to do. But obviously, everything that we do is under advisement from you guys. When we see how you guys interact with it and what you guys think, we'll obviously adjust.
Yep, exactly. And I think, one of the points there is that in the future we're going to be working a lot on the economy balancing, which kind of hasn't been done at all. And, it's really a decision on our end where it's like, okay, are you supposed to sell all items and get that money and everyone's supposed to get the gold from every item that drops, or are you not supposed to get that? Versus everyone has to do it or not. So that's some of the stuff that we're kind of thinking of. So Batophobia also wants to know, of all the threads you've read on the forum, which is your favorite?
Wow. There are a lot of good ones. Most recently, I think it was this week, I was looking, I believe it was a post by Gigazel where he or she posted kind of UI mock for the inventory, and it looked pretty cool, and I kind of passed it around to people. That would have to be my recent favorite.
Sweet. So UA wants to know from the comments, are there any plans to add items to the TIB between waves or further optimize game performance? I'm struggling to maintain decent FPS even at the lowest graphic settings.
Interesting. That is something we'd have to look at, especially on our min-spec machines. If you're playing around our min-spec range, you shouldn't experience things like that. We'll have to look into that and kind of fix it.
Mm-hmm. And Ziathan wants to know, are Huntress relics getting a review or fix so they drop with more than 0 or 1 affix?
Huntress relics. I think I know what you're talking. There's a bug where some relics appear with only one stat and no special stats on it. That is a bug that we intend to fix in the upcoming update.
So Games to Upload wants to know, when will cats be implemented in the game?
In the next patch, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. And that there. NGOCTNVT asks, will endless mode be available for any map or just a specific map?
Technically, it can be available on any map, but we'll probably initially release it on specific maps and take it from there.
Mm-hmm. And Happy Guy 3216 wants to know about that dino mount we've been playing with internally. When are we going to release it?
I don't know. Maybe sometime soon.
So Lafra wants to know, I think most people vote yes for a release date character wipe, but is there any way you will reward people who put a certain amount of time into the alpha game? For example, let them keep their gold they collected.
That's something we talk about a lot internally. Like, just as an example, if we want to wipe the gold in the game, if we have an update coming that maybe like addresses the gold economy in the game, and we have to wipe, how do we want to do that? And some of the ideas that we're having are like, all right, you guys can now buy really exclusive titles that you won't be able to get in the game in any other way for gold. So rather than just taking it away, we provide avenues for you to kind of sink your currency into and unlock these super cool rewards that won't be available for other people in the game. So we're trying to be creative with wipes like that.
Yep, and I think we really wanted to reward players for playing the game in early access. So even if it's not like a gameplay affecting reward, it might be like costumes or something.
Mm-hmm.
So Gutu wants to know, Dungeon Defenders is an action tower defense with some RPG elements. Would there be more depth on the RPG side? Like maybe marriages and other RPG features? I don't know if there will be marriages.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the kind of the RPG side of that. Definitely a very interesting thing. Maybe in the future when more customization options become available, that the need for players that really want to role play becomes a serious thing that we need to consider.
So we don't have a pen, but you should write this one down. Little Doggy wants to know, and actually, John, maybe you can write this down. Are there any plans to have the map be more informative like in DD1? So I think what you're referring to is that you can press the shift button to see all the information that you'd like to see about the map, like spawns and things coming out of waves. We still don't say that anywhere in the game. So we really need to put that in the game.
Right, we should. We talk a lot about I think it's called the tactical map. That's what we refer to it internally. We are talking about it at least.
Yep. So Balls Out wants to know, any chance of an option to spawn a wave all at once, or speed up the spawn of the wave?
The problem with that is performance.
Yeah.
Like there are some maps that have waves that have like 400 enemies, and if they all come out at once, our min-spec machines won't be able to handle it. Mm-hmm. So that is currently the reason why there's kind of a limit on how many enemies you see on screen, and that's likely not to change anytime soon.
Yep. So Balls Out Ons wants to know, what's the chance of getting a King of the Hill map where mobs spawn from all 360 degrees?
That's pretty interesting. We actually had a similar kind of siege mode prototype internally that we played for a while, and that was pretty exciting, so we might develop that in the future.
And then Doc wants to know new characters in the future.
Mm-hmm.
He also wants to know character customization next patch. 3 more questions, guys. Thank you guys for watching the stream. I know it's been a long one. I know you guys have handled us through three disconnects now, and you don't even get to see how we look right now. We're all looking silly, put on dresses.
Mm-hmm.
Especially I passed butter. Just drank too much beer. But,
I had a dress on at the beginning.
yeah, in the beginning. Okay. So we have 3 more questions. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we're excited to kind of show you what the reveal next week is, which will be even bigger than the reveal this week. Guard and Dan004 wants to know, can we expect the PS4 version by December of this year? We'll announce a date later for the PS4 version. He also wants to know, will we be making mobile versions? There are no plans to make mobile versions for DD2 right now. Hades Krieger wants to know, how many people are working on DD2? How many people are? A lot.
A lot of people are working on
A lot
DD2
of
right now.
people.
Most of Trendy's working on DD2 right now.
Yeah. So a lot. That's the question. A lot more than DD1, in fact. And hopefully
Yes.
you can see that in the game itself and the size of this next patch. They also want to know, will there be a feature to invite players from the social tavern to the group?
Potentially, yes. We're looking into that in the future.
Perfect. And we're going to have matchmaking phase 5 on our next milestone, where hopefully we're going to make everything not shitty with our
Yes.
matchmaking.
Once again, the goal for another matchmaking patch is to make it less shitty.
Yes. Okay. So thank you guys for tuning in. We had a lot of fun. Go vote on the new influence vote. If you have any questions, ask us. We'll try to take some time early next week to answer your questions on the influence vote. And I'm super excited for next week's reveal, which I won't tell you what it is. So good night, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. See you.